Welcome back to the We Was Banking podcast. I'm your host, Brandon.
I'm your other host, Chanel.
And we are back to review season 3, episode 6 of HBO's Inudstry, Nikki Beach, or
Yes,
So
we
Many
are.
Ways to Lose. This episode is insane. I have a lot of thoughts about this episode, a whole lot of thoughts about this episode. And I think this episode basically was an encapsulation of what this entire show is about, which is great. But before we get into those thoughts, I want to say that you can reach out and support the show in many ways. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you can leave us a review. If you leave us a 5-star review, we'll read it on the show. We really appreciate those. We've gotten a few this week, which I'll read in a few minutes. But thank you
Yes.
all for reviewing the show. We really appreciate we see all the new listeners and people sharing the show and stuff. So we really appreciate that. So
It is exciting.
So if you're new and you're liking what you're listening to, just leave us a 5-star review. It doesn't cost you any money. It doesn't take too much time, and it helps us out a lot. You can also find us on YouTube. I know people say they've been having trouble finding us on YouTube, so I need to make sure that the updated link is in the show notes. And I don't know why it doesn't show
it's
up in the
also
search.
like it's youtube.com/the @ we was watching. So @ we was watching, like the @ is in the URL.
Yeah, you can reach us at we was watching on YouTube, and you can like our videos there or subscribe to our videos as well. We are live on YouTube right now. If you are watching there, thank you, and continue to do that. And you can also email the show at wewasdragonspod@gmail.com. That's because we started this podcast doing House of the Dragon. We haven't changed that for any of the new listeners. So we're always going to be wewasdragonspod@gmail.com to email the show. We also got a few emails as well.
And then also we're building our Twitter. So @we was watching on X is a good way to also support us. I mean, unfortunately, if you pull up Twitter on your phone, it no longer gives you the app. You have to type X now. So Twitter/X. Yes, we are on there. So, please support and follow there if you can. Because we are, wherever we can prove that we have listenership is what we are trying to do.
So we got a few emails. So let's go through these before we get into the show.
Yes.
We got an email from Ben who said, "Hello, Brandon and Chanel. I've really been enjoying your Inudstry recap. Thank you so much for doing it. Season 3 of Inudstry is definitely the best thing on TV, streaming, whatever, and I'm not surprised your audience has grown massively. I agree. Just one thing, Kit Harington's character is called Sir Henry Muck, not Musk." Oh, that's a good point.
Thank you.
That might be a black thing, like we add S's and shit on stuff. So we put an S in there.
I thought it was Musk. I truly did.
He is acting like it, like an asshole, like Nepo baby, like Elon. So,
but it's M-U-C-K.
M-U-C-K, yeah. So thank you for that, Ben. We appreciate that. Okay. I mentioned this not to nitpick.
Correct us. It's so important. Yeah.
I mentioned this not to nitpick. It's not nitpicking. But because it seems relevant in a couple ways. Firstly, the name doesn't have the direct link to Elon, although people still make that connection. And secondly, muck in British English means dirt. Oh, and lady muck in British English is commonly used to mean a woman who thinks she's very important and should be treated better than everyone else. That's crazy. Given this episode, that is crazy.
They know what they're doing.
That's from the Cambridge Dictionary. So calling him muck undermines his pompous, self-important character. He may be a lord and a CEO, but he is as dirty, corrupt, and delusional as the rest of us. Or that's my take anyway. Keep up on the excellent work. That was awesome. So thank you for that. I really appreciate that. And I didn't think about that, but now that makes even more sense after this episode. We had an email a while back that I forgot to read from Jason. And Jason said, just the thoughts that stumbled on your podcast while hungering for real authentic reviews of House of the Dragon. Since you're branching in the industry and shows such, hopefully a rewatch of Succession. Maybe we'll do that one day because I love Succession. It might be good to change your podcast brand to We Was Podding. That way you can have different shows all fall under one umbrella. Or later on, if you do movie reviews, you can say We Was Reviewing. Anyway, I love that you're both African-American and authentic and how you approach all the shows. I appreciate that. I think that was the idea between We Was Watching. That's why it says it on YouTube.
Yeah.
So that everything falls under it. To be honest, when we put the names out on the podcast, I do that because it cheats. It helps us get on the search SEO a little bit better. So when people type in the name of the show, it comes up because it's more closely related. But I agree with that.
And eventually, two things there. One is eventually we will probably use a broader email, and then we can always forward our email so that people email the old one, we won't miss them. So like that's a good point. We started this podcast like 2 years ago, and the email just stuck, as Brandon said. But the second thing is just special shout out to Jason, because Jason emailed us twice, and I just want to say Jason did some real shit, because he emailed us again like, excuse me, did you see my email? And I've never felt more connected to a person in the audience, because that's me. Like, you're not about to read all these other emails and not mention that I emailed you. Like, what's going on? Like, I'm complimenting you too. Like, what's good? And I just want to say, like, I think Jason's email, his subject was pod brand, and I definitely think I thought that was like somebody being like, do you want your podcast to be branded well for $25 an episode? So I think that's how we missed it. And so anyway, thank you for bumping it up and making sure that we saw it. We really do appreciate all the feedback and the emails and holding us accountable as well.
Absolutely. We got another email from Muhammad, who said, hey, Brandon and Chanel, first off, I love the podcast and tune in weekly. Just wondering, would it be possible to drop the link to your YouTube page in the bio summary? I've tried so many different variations, searching for it on YouTube, but nothing comes up. Would enjoy watching the stream.
Yeah, we are shadow banned. We are definitely shadow banned. That's a fact.
How do you know?
I just, because we've never been able to find. It's just like there's so many we was.
Well, we should have got an email if we were shadow banned. They usually send you an email. We didn't get no
joking.
Email.
I'm being funny, but like I do. It is very hard to find us. Like literally, unless you do, we was watching Inudstry, Brandon and Chanel, we don't come up. And I think that's what I mean. Like we're lost in the algorithm. But I will say, now that you got the app, we was watching. Another thing is, if you go to anchor.fm/we was podcast, like our Anchor hub, under like listen on Spotify and support this podcast, which by the way, any money helps and helps us do this show. We have our Twitter, our Instagram, our Twitter, and our YouTube link there. So like that also is on that site. But if you try to go and find us organic, it's going to be hard to find. And it only gets better when you guys subscribe and like. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for looking for us.
Speaking of that, we got an email from Nick with the title Brandon's World Class Mic. Look at that, Chanel. I told you a few weeks ago that I appreciate you guys and thank you for podding about Inudstry, my favorite TV show for 2024. Like you guys have said, this show just burns through plot. Oh, wait till I get into this episode. They don't fuck around at all. Early in the season, I hated that I had to watch this show weekly since I've been season 1 and 2, but now I'm glad I can't binge the show because it's too much to handle.
It is.
It's definitely too much to binge. I believe Harper is going to persuade Petra to get more cash and buy Pierpoint because they're going to bankrupt now. And then Harper will basically be the main focus of the show the second half of the season. And finally,
Harper owning Pierpoint would be hilarious.
I got thoughts on that. And finally, Brandon's new expensive mic is amazing because the other expensive mic you had sound like a 1999 Kia. And this new one sounds like a 2024 Lambo. Look at that. Look at that. How can I give you guys a flat donation versus monthly? Is there any other way? When I hate your support button,
only doing that?
I can only donate monthly. I guess we need to look into that to see how that works.
It does do
Chanel
that.
must have set that
up. No. Actually, Spotify for podcasters switched. Like we used to be able to do ads on here, and it doesn't let us do that anymore. So like, what we probably need to do is just set up like a buy us a coffee link, and we'll do that. So really appreciate you guys even wanting to do that. We will get that figured out soon.
All the money goes to Chanel until we get rich, and then we'll split it.
Basically, yeah. Thank you. By the way, you guys may or may not notice I have a new mic. I hope that you notice it. If you don't, that's okay. But I knew I was very echoey because I'm podcasting under stairs. And so hopefully it makes a difference. And we are a world-class podcast from now on because that is what y'all deserve. But whoever messaged before and said, to be honest, like this is a no ads, no paywall podcast, like they can only do so well. Fair. Also real.
And the last email we got is from Keith. He said, hey, Chanel and Brandon, so delighted I discovered your pod in the nick of time for this season of Inudstry. Love both the insights and the inquiries. After the succession, as it were, of episodes 4 and 5, I was moved to add my piece. On a lesser show, episode 5 would have been the season standout thus far. Right. However, it paled on every level in comparison with the sublime episode 4. That said, a few points on episode 5. Being a generation above you two, it was amusing to hear you recognize neither the Prince Diana nor the Ginger... No, I said Ginger Spice. I called Ginger Spice. That's Chanel. who didn't know
In
it was Ginger
hindsight,
Spice.
all of it made sense. It was just like we were just disoriented. We were just disoriented.
Chanel's too young to know the Spice Girls. I knew that was Ginger Spice, and I said
true. You did, but like I just that outfit scene. You know what it is? All the wigs were atrocious. That's what it was. That was not a great Princess Diana wig. That wig was like the Princess Di wig was like more of a mother on a Family Guy show wig, and then the other Ginger Spice wig was like too fluffy. It was just not exactly it. So you're right, and I just want to say like we are much
you're
smarter
half
than
right.
sometimes
You're half right, Keith. You're half right. I called Ginger Spice, and Chanel said it wasn't Ginger Spice, and then she looked it up. And she said, "Oh, that's Ginger Spice."
Well, what I will say is that sometimes when you're podcasting, your part of your brain does shut down because like there's some like basic stuff that I just cannot understand. Like I remember one time we lost a listener because I think I was saying like, oh, bro, like I'm so behind. I can't remember anything about True Detective when we did True Detective, like Night Detective, whatever the fuck, Night Country. I was just saying like, oh, I don't remember, and like I do genuinely, if I look it up, I'll recall, but like somebody was like, nope, X out of this podcast. They don't know what they're talking about. So forgive us when we say dumb shit.
Chanel's a grad student. She's very busy. If y'all think that, fuck you. No offense, but fuck you.
Well, I also don't care. But also Henry VIII, by the way, that made sense. Somebody was like, oh, he had a head. He was holding a head. Duh. Like it makes so much sense when you point it out. So thank you.
Your Honor sleuthing did open my eyes to something, as the outfits largely involved British iconography, Henry VIII, etc. Rob taking on false spectacles for a subcommittee testimony evoked Harry Potter. Yes, he did look very much like that. Another generational thing. 2 lines you singled out from the episode, does the carpet match the drapes, and Think of England, were both borrowed from James Bond films. I did know the carpet match the drapes were from James Bond films.
I didn't know it came from James Bond.
I didn't know Think of England did, though. I used to watch those films when I was younger, those old James Bond films, but I knew the first one was in James Bond, but I didn't know the second one.
By the way, I can go back to Connery. I'm not a child, okay?
She's a child.
I know my James Bonds. I'm Connery, Brosnan, and then what's his new one? Craig. I have all 3 under my belt. I'm not just a Daniel Craig Bond, so just know that. And I'm also Idris Elba Bond when he does decide, or a John Boyega Bond, or a Damson Idris Bond whenever they announce a new one.
So you just want black people to be James Bond, huh?
I mean, no, I just named 3 Brits. You're the one who made it about race.
Oh, okay, sure. I'm sure that's what it was. Perhaps homage to yet another UK icon. As for episode 4, I've not seen better hour of TV in years. Your review recap accorded all the creatives their flowers. Duly accorded all the creators their flowers. It would be a travesty if Sagar Radia is denied an Emmy. I don't know if they got it. Oh no, that'll be next year's Emmy probably because this is still going on. For his brave, uncompromising elevation from comic relief to dramatic lead. Also, kudos to Mickey Down and Conrad K for subtly lacing a script entitled White Mischief with a plethora of white references. White Christmas, Santorini white, lines of Coke here, they're everywhere. Diana losing her virginity to Nicholas on his 18th birthday, the party themed White Mischief. It's Hugo White. All while exploring the contradiction, sadness, and irony involved in a South Asian descended man availing himself of the privileges and prerogatives of British wealth. Keep up the outstanding work. That was a great email, and that's definitely great analysis of what happened. You should do one of these. That was good analysis. We also got a few reviews, and then we'll jump into the show. We got a review.
Yeah, I can read those.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. So you can always go to Apple Podcasts and review us. You can also give us 5 stars on Spotify. We are literally neck and neck with our like 4.4, 4.5 ratings in Apple, Spotify. Like you guys tell us which.
We're on the streak though of 5s. We're on the streak of 5s. Keep that up.
Oh, we're killing it. Oh no, we're killing it. Thank you, because a couple people called us dumb before, and gave us 1s, but we fought back. Anyway, so thank you guys so much. Let's see. So 5-star review from Will, top tier. So glad I found this podcast. Definitely love the perspectives of the host, Brandon and Chanel, 2 Black Americans giving the POV we all want to hear. I love that. That is our Emmy consideration quote. Keep up the good work. Also, Eric was Henry VIII. The head he was carrying around was the dead giveaway. You're correct. Also, I did see the 6. Like, I promise I know some history, but to be honest with you, like, knowing more, whenever I know white things, I intentionally replace them with black knowledge because I know too many white things. And so if it's like British history, sometimes I go, oh, I don't care about that African history. So if I don't know basic things, it is intentional. Okay, another one by Closet Snob. Great little pod and great audio now. Have been watching the show since season one, have bounced around a few different pods, but thank you for your coverage, enjoying the content. I will say, I'm going to say something really cocky. I feel like we are the number one industry podcast because we are giving industry its due as like prestige TV, and we are going through it pace by pace, and we're not treating it just like it's a bunch of young people having sex and doing drugs. Mind you, they did do a little bit, they calmed down a little bit this season. But I do think that, and this is the approach we take to every show, whether it be Righteous Gemstones or like Hijack on Apple TV. So come come back for more. Also, he said also another dance montage opening show and great show slash great book is Pachinko. That's on my list on Apple TV. The song in the montage is also great. And then one last one from Book Obsessed, realest of the real, 5 stars. This is the most genuine and thorough of recap podcasts in the history of recap podcasts. I wish these people were my neighbors.
Yeah.
If you will pay the moving costs, we will come. Awesome. We're so excited, guys. Thank you so much. Like Brandon said, we are on a streak. We're trying to rise up in the ranks. We're getting like sometimes we're top 20 in TV review podcasts. I think we're like top 20 in British podcasts right now in TV review. We were top number 44 in Australia. G'day. You know what I'm saying? Like
we were number 20 in all the TV review podcasts last week.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So we're like doing amazing things. We're like top 200 of all podcasts at 1.2. So like that matters a lot to us. So please, please, please keep helping us as we are independent production. Literally, it's Brandon doing most of the production work most of the times. And so all the time. And so please, like that validation really matters. And if we were ever to be monetized or like have a little bit better deal, it comes from the numbers. So thank you. Before we get into it, we did do a lot of like shilling early on. I did want to tell Brandon that I started Foundation.
Oh yeah. See, for you guys to know before Chanel goes, if I want to get Chanel to watch a show, I have to tell her that it's not white people. Or at least that white people are like on the side, right? So I had to present the Foundation, because I love Foundation. It's such a beautiful show. So I had to present it to her as it has a black lead. And if I say it has a black woman lead, Chanel will like stop everything and turn it on. Right. So like I gotta hit her with the racism so that she can go watch the show.
So controversial opinion. The second episode made me mad because yes, I love her in a black lead, but why is she kissing my man?
Oh God.
Why? What is she doing? Like you go to space and just to steal my man? That's crazy. So anyway, it's that like just upset me. But yeah, no, it's a good show. I think like the Foundation, I'm only on episode 2, but the Foundation pilot, it's such a good pilot. So much happens, so much action gets like straight away. We set up the premise. It like starts somewhere and then goes back to tell the story in a way that makes sense, but doesn't tell all the answers to what you saw in the beginning. And then the second episode, though, I literally have had to restart because I feel like I'm missing so much. Like it's moving very fast and it's not taking its time. Yeah. So I will say that's the only thing about it, but I am into it enough to keep doing that, and like I think it's worth it to get through it. And so anyway, outside of black female lead, it is genuinely an interesting show. It's just like Apple TV has so many good shows and then so many shows that are like whole world building show that it's like I need to be prepared to kind of get into it. Also, I finished Slow Horses season 3, and I don't know if you ever watched that, but
I'm catching up on that.
Love me some British mystery thriller shit. Love it. And so season 3 was great. That is a show. I'm not saying we should do it, but that is a show that's
we should do it next year.
Okay, that's a show that's on right now. Season 4.
I know, but by the time we get done, it's going to be like in the middle or towards the end. It's going to be a whole thing. But I agree. Yeah. I've heard so many good things about this show.
But Slow Horses is very much a show that you might start the pilot over and over and over until you actually lock in. But once you lock in and pay attention to what they're saying, you're like, oh, I'm fucking with this show. But like at first, it's kind of like weird and boring. And then I'm gonna tell you something else. I know this makes me sound like a 12-year-old, but like it took me a minute to be like, oh, I know who Gary Oldman is. Like he looks so different. Like he's such a good actor that I know he's like not an old fart in real life, but like him being Sirius Black, I did not put 2 and 2 together. I was like, I'm sure he was in the Harry Potter universe, but I did not know that this old man that got farting on Slow Horses is literally the Sirius Black. he's such a good actor.
I mean, he was in Oppenheimer. I think he was in one of the Batman Nolan movies.
Yeah.
He's in both of them as Gordon.
He was Commissioner Gordon. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. He transforms. And also, like, side note, talking about like Alfred Enoch and like people, British people in Foundation. Why does he have an English accent? An American accent. He could just be British.
You'll see. They actually explain. They talk about that.
I love that. Okay,
Foundation is a sprawling show from a book, and it takes place over like hundreds and hundreds of years. So yeah, we actually did good. We did all of that in 20 minutes. So the last thing before we get into the show is I'm going to put a poll out because y'all been participating in our polls. I'm going to put a poll out to see what show y'all want us to do next. I sent Chanel an email. I sent Chanel a text message asking her if we should do Penguin or if we should do the next HBO show that comes on after. Well, Penguin is on HBO, but another HBO show that comes on the week after this one ends called The Franchise. So we'll see.
Yeah, my only concern is that everybody and their mom is going to be doing Penguin. That's the only reason why I'm like,
I don't know. Sure. Do you think? I don't know if that many people are into it.
I mean, don't you think just like DC, Batman people in general? I mean, as far as like podcasts, like every nerd podcast will be doing it, is what I was assuming.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm sure some nerd podcasts will be doing it. Yeah, but we'll see. We got to find it. I'm trying to find a sweet spot of like stuff that we enjoy, but also stuff that's not like the big things on TV, but also something that not something that nobody's watching either.
Because Inudstry was not strategic at all. Inudstry was a show we just been waiting to sync up on, and we were like, let's go for it. And we happened, I think, to find some like we're in a good spot with finding a show that like people who fucking watch and need somebody else to talk to it about, and like nobody at work has watched it, or it's like not a work show to talk about, and so we are giving you that space. So yeah, we're gonna see from here what we do, but that's kind of like what I think we enjoy, because we get so in depth on these shows. It makes sense to do shows that like people are craving. I also want to point out one more thing. Oh my gosh, sorry, is that we are at all time. We are 570 plays, and plays count as people streaming for at least 60 seconds from 35,000 all time. And so I'm so excited for that. Let's make sure to have a 35K party. And I know like it's like a random metric, but it's just so exciting that means that like 35,000 times somebody has like sat down and watched our show over the last 2 years. I think that's crazy. So we have a lot of stuff to celebrate.
Absolutely. So let's get into this episode 6 of Inudstry. Nikki Beach. Chanel, what did you think of this episode overall before we get into the plot?
I mean, so fucking much is happening on this damn show. It is truly outrageous. And I think that I don't even know how to express it. Like, it's just such a wild ass show. Good as always. I think they have to be so careful though, because I think they're literally on the verge of the show being too good that like you stop appreciating how damn good this show is, because it's just the episodes are. I forgot about the Muck trial. I forgot. That's how crazy this episode is. Rishi popped up like nothing ever happened. Rishi's like, hey guys, I'm back at work. Like, this show is doing so much for us. So yeah, what about you? I know you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts about this episode. But I've said it like a million times this season, how the show burns through plot. But this episode was insane because the title of this episode is Nikki Beach, right? And so you see that type of titling on TV shows all the time. When something happens in the past and they've been, teasing it or hinting at it all season, and then towards the end of the season, usually in the last 3 episodes, you find out what happened, right? And usually that is the entire episode. It'll just be like a flashback episode so you can find out what happened. And at the end of that episode, somewhere towards the end of the episode, you get the big, like this is what happened, right? Yeah. That's very common in television. This show was like, I mean, we'll give you 6 minutes. And then we're just going to keep moving.
They also were like, you already know what happened. We kind of warned you already. But Brandon, I'm so sorry. Don't hold your thought. I need to announce something. I just realized we already have a monthly subscriber.
Oh, look at that. We got our first monthly subscriber.
God.
Now that's
I'm
a celebration.
So excited. Vanessa, thank you so much for supporting the show. We love you dearly. We will name a child after you, or a pet, something of the other, or just something in the studio, but something will be named after you, Vanessa. Thank you for subscribing. If you guys want to join Vanessa, it is on our Anchor site. That's so exciting.
I didn't even know that. That's awesome.
This show is yeah. I mean, okay, so I was technically right.
No, I was right. You don't ever want to give me credit.
You were right.
I said you were like, I think she killed it. I was like, I don't think she killed her. I think that something happened and he killed himself.
You did.
And then she takes the blame for it. That's exactly what I said.
That actually is very specific. Yeah, you're right. You did have it.
That's right. I
mean, you're rarely wrong.
Like, I'm wrong all the time, but I was right on this one. Speaking of that, we had a poll last week. Did Yasmin actually kill her father? And the listeners said 83% of y'all said yes, 16% of y'all said no. The 16 is right.
Yeah. And the 16%, okay, everyone's correct here, because the 16% were the people like, there's no way she just like fucking stabs him. Like, that's so predictable. So valid.
It was just that she wasn't acting like somebody who actually killed her father, like at their hands. Although I can see why she would take blame for it, but we'll get into that in the show. But the other thing I'll say about the show, and I'll touch on this as we go through, is I realized that at least this season in particular, but this show in general, is always about portraying the characters in a way where they're in situations where they feel like they have no choice, right? Like they put the characters in a situation where they feel like they have no choice, and then they go down this road, when in actuality, they always have a choice, and they just continue to make the self-serving or the cutthroat choice. All of them do that. Mm-hmm. And in this episode was no more example of that than with Eric, Yasmin, and Harper all having a chance to make a decision, even flirting with the quote-unquote good decision, and ultimately making the bad decision for whatever their purpose is. Not bad, but making the less moral position, I guess, if we were to put it that way. Well, I guess even in Yasmin's situation, I think it's a little bit more complex. I wouldn't call her decision less moral based on how her dad is. But the less, in generic terms, the less moral decision. They've made the choice, even though the show wants you to believe that they were in a situation where they couldn't make a different choice. So I thought that was excellent. How this show does that.
I mean, and that's life. Like, I think sometimes it really does. Like, we think about these bad actors or people who just let shit happen at work, and it really is people who feel like, well, I can't lose my job. And it's like, you literally can. Like, you literally can, and they might fire you. Oh, there's something I'm so excited about later. I just thought about. But you literally can get fired. You literally can, like, get another job. I know it doesn't feel like it. I know sometimes it's like, oh, homelessness is around the corner, but like literally you can. And
in these situations, it's even less than that, because none of these people would be homeless. They would get some type of big ass severance package that probably pays them 8 months to a year worth of salary. And then they got headhunters, which we see calling them all the time to go work somewhere else. So like in their scenario, that wouldn't even be like in real option. They would be fine. This episode starts off on a Lady Yasmin. So this is also, it makes you think, okay, we're about to get the whole flashback. And this is after what we saw on the boat before with her dad fucking that the woman who works there, and then pinning her down the bed and throwing the wine on her and shit. And he starts banging on the door, and he comes in and he's trying to apologize and shit. And he says, when you were a kid, you were attached to my lap and you would cry whenever anyone tried to separate us. And Yasmin says, this was so fucking... I laughed so hard, even though this was so real. She says, I can't remember a time that I ever loved you.
Yeah, I have no memory of loving you. And that's
God
real.
Damn.
Like, if it happened before a certain time, it's done.
Jesus. That seemed to really piss him off. Like it seemed to like hurt him in a way. That's like he was really upset about that. I'm like, how could you be hurt by that?
It's definitely narcissistic injury. That's the thing, right? It's like you literally treat somebody so bad, and as soon as they have a boundary or tell you like "fuck you," you're like, "I cannot believe you would say something like that to me." Like that's the most hurtful thing anyone's ever said. It's narcissistic injury for sure.
Yaz is walking. She leaves and she's walking on the back of the boat. Dad comes up singing, I'm an Englishman. He's clearly fucked up at this point, and he's singing. And he says, look how beautiful all this is, talking about like the surroundings and where they are. He's like, let's not spoil this by fighting. And like we've seen many times,
out of his mind.
Yeah, he was eating some scenery up. Yasmin thinks about it, and she always like, okay, like she's okay. And she's okay, daddy. And she gives him a high five and they embrace for a hug. And then he's holding the hug for a long time. And then they switch the camera to see Yaz's face. And I'm like, well, first I thought he was like grabbing her ass or something like that. And then she goes, you're still hard. And I said, oh my God.
I'm telling you, he's been like this whole time. Like when they had that meeting before and he was in a meeting like that. Yeah, no, he's nasty.
And so like the show hasn't explicitly said, I don't even know if it's even implied that he's like molested her, to use that word, but he's definitely sexually harassed his daughter or been
sexually. No, I mean, it is assault. Like I think that like he sexually assaulted her when he got on top of her and threw wine at her.
Yeah, well, yeah, or that could just be like I don't know if I took that. I didn't take that as sexual. I took that as like abuse. Like child, like abuse more than sexual.
I think it crossed into a different dynamic. I think like straddling your daughter and forcing her down is like that. That's what I'm saying. Like assault is like everything up into that, and then battery could be, and then like rape is its own. I shouldn't have said that so early in the stream. Rape is its own thing. So like it's just like so beyond. It would just fuck me up.
I agree, but this was clearly. Forever. She goes, "You wanted me to see that." And he's like, what are you talking about? He's like, you wanted me to see you fucking that girl. That's why you did it in my fucking room. You wanted me to bust in there so you could see that. You enjoyed that shit. And I was like, he absolutely did. And okay, so listeners, you may know what this is. I don't know what this is. But she says to him, do you think that girl enjoyed that? Like, do you think she enjoyed that? And he said, happy is the horse that bears the weight of Anthony. Do you know that? Do you know what that's a reference to?
Yeah, I think he's saying like, and if I thought it was like Anthony the Great. Who is Anthony? Anyway,
it's from Shakespeare.
The reference is like, it's like slaves are happy to be slaves to like important people. So I literally think he's saying like,
expressing her adoration for Mark Antony by saying even the horse that carries him is lucky to bear his great stature and power. God damn, that's a narcissistic thing to say. Oh my God. About, like,
having sex.
She asks, how much did you pay her? He says, I didn't. I never pay. And she says, fuck out of here. Nobody wants to fuck you for free, buddy. How much did you pay? He said, fine. I paid her enough to shut the fuck up when I came in her mouth like a fucking bull. And I was like, Jesus. Like, who talks to their daughter like this? This is crazy shit. This is insane. And he says, she basically said that. She was like, do you know how fucking bad you failed at being my father? And he was like, it's the fucking 90s. Which, like, what was he trying to say? Like, the 90s was an excuse for that shit? And then she says, she basically said he was fucked up. And he says, he's like, look, I'm old. I'm fucked up. I had to live with my shit. But he says, you are young, prancing around here in your fucking bikini, so everyone can look at you like a fucking whore. And she says, there it is. You did that shit. You and your friends look at me like that. And you did that shit. You're the reason why all my relationships are fucked up with men. He said,
yeah, she's like, I see myself as a sex object because of you.
He said, yeah. She said, I see myself as a sex object. He says, yeah, because that's all you got. You're young, you got your whole life in front of you, but you got to deal with the fact that you are spectacularly talentless. That is such a great line. Like, you hear so much, like, in common, like, at least in my circles, like on the internet, talking about like mediocre white men, right? It's not like the exceptional. It's not like you can be white man and can't be exceptional, obviously. But like, there's so many mediocre white men who just like rich or just have like shit for, you know, Donald Trump, right? I got $400 million from my daddy and I made some shitty investments. I got myself out of it, but then I made a shitload of money because people like to laugh at me, right? Like, so, like just mediocre for no reason, but successful. He's basically saying that to her. He's basically like, you were born into this money. You spent all your time going after this money. I'm inferring into this, but he's like, we had a falling out a fucking couple months ago and you're back on this fucking boat again because that's what you want. That's who you are. You are attached to this money. And no matter how many times you say you're going to grow a spine and do something on your own, you always come running back because you don't have anything else in your life that could give you this life that I've given you. It was basically what he was saying. You are talentless. And she said, I swear I laughed at this. I don't know if I'm supposed to laugh at this, but she screamed at the top of her lungs, I speak 7 languages.
I mean, she's not wrong.
Speaking multiple languages is crazy and it's dedication. But she's not a linguist. She's not a translator.
I think that what like is happening here, it seems, is that they're like, so she's in finance where like edge or like special talent is what gets you there. But the truth is that like there are some people who are just there. Like everybody there is not like the most spectacular person. Like people don't put all that. People, I guess, say that to Robert, but Robert doesn't like take it to the same extent. And also is not, I mean, his dad did kind of say it in his own way, or like his parents are shitty too. But anyway, I think what I'm trying to say is like, she needs to decide for herself what she feels like, because like talent is so relative. I do think that like people are making fun of her for being bad at her job. So maybe she is like truly bad at her job. But
she's clearly bad at her job.
Like, yeah, but people just know her buttons to push is what I'm
feeling. Absolutely. And she then says like, I wish you would die. And he says, well, maybe I will. And he steps one foot over the fucking board.
He's a grown man. He's a grown ass man.
He said, I might do it. And she's like, fine, that'll be the best day of my fucking life. And this was key. This was such good editing. They cut away. And so you just kind of see Yaz walking, and then you just hear the splash. And so you don't know if he jumped or if he fell. Like you don't know what I think the show was telling us on purpose that we don't know what happened. But all you know is that he's in the water and he says he cut his leg, he needs help. And Yasmin freezes. She just like freezes in time. And he's like, what the fuck? Like, help me. Like, I hurt my fucking leg. I can't swim back to the boat. The boat's moving fast as fuck. Help me. And Yasmin's just frozen. And then like 2 minutes later, she just like snaps out of this trance and is like, oh shit, daddy, let me help you. And then she runs to get like the little buoy and throw that shit in there. By the time that is, I don't even know,
but did she though?
I think she did. I think she went into a trance.
I think she went, I guess I'm okay. I think that this is my viewing at the end. I think that like she did something, but I don't think she really meant to save him, because like she fumbled a lot with the thing. She didn't go get help, which would have been what she need. Like that's the real answer, I think, for me, is like it took her so long to open up to get the thing out. And I do think she did it, but I almost feel like she did it to pretend like she did it. It was a very interesting scene, because she genuinely was like, yeah, I kind of want him to die.
Oh, I absolutely think that. I think she then second guessed it, but then she went into self-preservation mode, right? Yeah. She was just like, if I tell them, then it brings up shit. But then she was just, and then she's in shock. Then you're in shock, right? Then she's back in her room, just in fucking shock. And that's when Harper comes in, and Harper's like, oh, did you see the guy with the bowling ball belly? He was feeding me fucking cocaine. I was like, yo, she is wilding. But she noticed that Yasmin's fucked up. She's like, what's wrong? Yasmin's like, he's gone. He jumped. She's like, who jumped? She's like, my daddy jumped. And she's like, what? And she was like, did you tell the captain? Did anybody see you?
Yeah. No, she goes, an hour ago?
Yeah. And she goes, nah, nobody saw me. She's like, so what do you want to do?
Wait, sorry. What was wild though is like when she did get the buoy, when she looked, he really was like lost.
Yeah, he was
It really
gone.
was a situation where they would have had to stop immediately. Like they would have to stop and turn around immediately if there was any chance of saving him. Like, and it might have still been too late, but like literally it was that quick. And that scared that's why I do not fuck with open water.
And Harper says, all right, we're going to take care of this shit. And she goes upstairs and she starts putting the buoy back, and she makes Yasmin get in the shower and tells her everything's going to be okay. We're going to take care of this shit. And I was like, look at Harper being a friend. She is changed.
I think she's being a friend. I do think she cares about her, and I do think she was being a friend. I genuinely do. But I also think Harper is just a person you call when you have a body to hide. I think.
And I also wrote, Harper's doing all this shit so that she can bring it back up in the finale.
Maybe. I mean, who the fuck? Who do you know? Like, besides maybe like your life partner, who do you know in life that you would never like? If you help somebody let their dad die, do you think they're gonna talk shit to you ever in life, and you're not gonna be like, "What the fuck? Did you just say something crazy to me?" Like, I think nobody helps hide a body without.
It depends what you do, but in that scenario, I agree. I do agree with you there. And then at the corridor, she wants to see her daddy, and the doctor's like, "Hey, dog, you don't want to see that body." And she was like, "No, I fucking want to see that shit." And she walks out the room, and she opens that shit, and she's like, "Oh shit!" I was like, "Bitch." I mean, I don't mean to say bitch. So I was like, "Didn't you fucking realize he just told you don't want to see that shit?" Like,
he was in water for years. Like, what are we talking about? It's not him just like this, rigor mortis. Like, that man's been picked at by seagulls.
And he says he ain't had nothing personal on him except this ring. You want that shit? We had to brutalize the body. I like that term. Is that an English term?
No, we would have to. He's saying like we'd have to break his thumb off to get it.
Yeah, I know, but I like that term. Brutalize the body.
Oh yeah, brutalize is crazy.
And she was like, fuck it. I want everything. Do what you got to do. And why the fuck you whispering? That nigga dead. He can't hear you. And she walks out. That's exactly what happened. And so then they cut to Harper in like some type of fucking thriller action movie on a fucking stakeout. The stakeout you see in all movies where somebody knows that someone runs through Central Park, and so they go sit on the bench for them to run through Central Park at 3:30 in the afternoon on a Sunday, and then you start running behind them.
She was a spy, and that's when I said Harper should be a spy.
And Harper started running, and she pretends to running.
Spy, bro.
And then the dude stops, and I said, "Oh shit, that's fucking James for episode 1." That was the dude who don't remember. That was the dude who was talking on the phone with Pierpoint to Yaz about he had thoughts about Lumi. He had to drive into the city.
Oh, that is him. Oh my god.
Yeah, and he's the one that went up to Henry and was like, your books are cooked. Like, this is bullshit. I'm getting out of here. That's him.
Duh, of course she would go back to him. Also, they have some chemistry.
Oh god. Harper makes a joke about his vacation homes. He said, "Oh, I sold one of them when my wife died." And she's like, "Oh shit, my bad." And he's like, "Why? Did you hit her with the fucking bus?" And then she says, "No, she did actually die, but that's why I was in rehab dealing with that shit, and that's where I met Petra." That was like kind of a throwaway line, you would think, but it wasn't, because Harper. And he said he got out.
She goes, "What was she doing at rehab?" I'm like, "Whoa."
He said he got out completely of ESG stocks, and he says, you were very prescient about ESG going down. If you and Leviathan Alpha got any tips on the next big idea, I like to have drinks at this bar." And she was basically like, "I'd love to join you there and talk to you about that." So then they cut to Leviathan Alpha's office. Petra comes in. Right, first thing in the morning, Petra can't even take her fucking coat off, and Harper's like, "Hey, dog, these bond markets. Let's talk about this shit. I got the goods."
Exactly, because she has a tip that she can't give away, because like I think Petra will be like, how the fuck did you find that out? And so that's why she's going around it. But she's also like, time is of the essence
here.
here.
And Petra was like, I just got in here. You think I want to talk about bond markets? Ooh, that just got a twitch in between my legs. That's what she said. That made me have a twitch in between my legs. And she thinks, basically, because neither Chanel or I are super finance people, but basically, a lot of banks are unloading debt. You ain't no finance person.
I am. I take finance. I can explain it. Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead. Explain it.
So basically what's happening is that a long time ago, Prearpoint said, okay, you guys, they were issued debt. So like, I understand it, but I don't want to say it the wrong way. So basically somebody gave them money and then they were like, all right, bet we're going to pay you back at a later date. And then also they were like, any money they did have, they were going to go take these ESG companies, these like all these new green companies, we're going to take them public. And so they had to in order to get the deal, they were like, we're going to put some of our money up for you guys. So they have a bill coming due and they have all of their liquid, like more tangible capital actually already out, like on bets, basically. Like they bet on these companies and these companies are slowly going straight to zero, meaning like all the equity that they earned and put into these companies is going down, so they won't be able to pay their bills at all. Basically, that's really what's happening. And so what they start realizing is, okay, there's ways to figure out if this is happening or not. For example, like if we go to the different banks and say, hey, we want to invest in ESG, they're going to be, if they give us a deal on ESG, it's because they know they're about to lose money and they think we're dumb. So like, because they think we're dumb, they're going to give us this deal. But in the list that they're collecting is like, these are the companies they want to get rid of because they know those are bad bets. So like they're happy to sell those bad bets to other people. So the banks think they're getting over, but Petra and Harper are actually using those lists to figure out like, okay, what are the bad companies that are going to go to zero eventually.
But before we got to all that, Harper was saying this very secondhand. And I was so proud of her because usually Harper finds out some illegal shit and she can't wait to tell somebody that she found some illegal shit. It just makes her so excited to be like, oh, I found this shit out. But this time she was speaking very secondhand. And Petra's like, you speaking in the passive voice. Like, be straight with me.
Yeah, what's going on? Well, because she didn't want to come in too strong and be like, listen, we need to do this because I think that has not worked for her before. So she's like, yeah, let's talk through this. And I thought that was like you said, I'm weirdly proud of her. Also, she's looking like an executive these days.
Well, she had on a big ass oversized suit too.
I mean, it's giving I own my own firm, but also like I'm going to be professional now.
And she said, Petra wants more clarity. She says she talked to James Ashford and they're getting rid of a lot of these ESG companies. Petra asks, are these banks doubly exposed and which banks? Harper smartly says she ain't figured that part out. Like, I don't know which. She knew what bank, but she was like, she want Petra to figure that shit out the normal way so that she don't seem like she's giving up some illegal shit or doing some underhanded shit, which Petra had already called her out on earlier in the season. Then someone's at the door and it's Yaz, and Yaz and Harper have a little lunch break. And she tells Harper that she was identifying the body. And Harper says, this should give you some closure. And Yaz was like, this don't give me shit. He won. Now I got that fucking image stuck in my head forever. He fucking won. And Harper
she's
says,
like, literally, he's dead.
She's like, he's dead. No one's looking at you. You have won. Like, she's doing like affirmations. And,
right. I mean, but to be honest, like, he's only in her head as much as Yasmin's going to let him stay in her head. Like, and that's the fact.
Absolutely. And then he said, it's not he. She said, oh, you know, oops, I just opened something up that cut off my notes. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. Harper gets a phone call from Petra, and Petra's like, look, I did some checking and the shit that you said is true. And she's like, you know what's funny? I called a couple of banks and they're offering these incredible prices at Pierpoint to get their debt off their hands. And I want to set up a meeting and with your wallflower. And Harper's like, can we not do that? She's like, why? She's like, let's be more tactical. Like, we don't want to come in. And Petra's was like, just tell them we're buying the dip. It's all presentation. Ain't you good at that shit? And Harper's like, okay, I mean, that's a good point, but let's not use her. She's going through some shit. And Petra says, what, personal shit? She said friendships and
Fuck off,
contempt
yeah.
are just two sides of the same coin. She's like, I read
She is
about
so
her.
crazy.
She was out here on that fancy ass boat with all that nonsense. She's not like us. She doesn't. Why does she even have a job in finance?
They're going hard on her.
Take as many meetings with the sales desk as you can. Find out who has the longest list, but we can't ignore Pierpoint. And Harper says, let me work my angle at Pierpoint. That's not the wallflower. And Petra said, why? She's comically shit at her job.
Yeah,
that shit is so funny. And then Yaz gets a call from Alexander Norton. And I actually had this call because I thought this was...
She's like, Sir Norton, sir, sire.
I thought this was very interesting, so I had this call.
What?
Yasmin, this is Alexander.
I love how these dudes talk. It's just so... It makes me so happy.
Alexander Norton.
Oh. Oh, sorry. Hello, my lord. Hi, sir.
First, my deepest sympathy for your loss. I'll always cherish Trinity Term 1988. This is a courtesy call. I hope it's polite.
I'm assuming that was something that happened with her daddy and him, like that they did.
I try and hold off on publishing hearsay, unless it can be at least nearly double-sourced. Our crime editor on the Sunday paper, she's quite recalcitrant. She somehow tracked down a source on board the Lady Yasmin, a Miss Galperin Diaz. She worked quite closely with your father, I believe, and holds a rather alarming counter-narrative to the prevailing one concerning Charles' final hours.
What do you think that is, Chanel? You think she saw what happened? Is that the woman that he was fucking? So she can say something?
But I think it probably is the woman saying like he assaulted me or like he forced me to have sex with him and Yasmin saw it and knew it. That's more likely than anything else.
Right, well, what can we do about that?
Have you spoken much to Henry? I worry his black dog's return.
His black dog? Is that like a drug addiction or something?
Yeah.
He's talking about his daddy because his daddy unalived himself. So I think he's saying he's in a bad place.
Yeah, all of the above.
Maybe it's too fatalistic, but I worry about the cruel inevitability of him ending up like his father.
Well, what am I supposed to do? I mean, I can't save him, and to be honest, I don't really want to.
I can't spike the story, Yasmin. Or I shouldn't.
Ooh!
I only have daughters, and by some damn fine luck, they only have daughters. So I suppose everything I have will end up with Henry.
Sorry, I don't follow.
That was so random. She's sitting at like a bus station and the dude next to her just starts throwing up. And then it's just like, it was such a random thing on this fucking show.
Please try and remember that with Henry, some of his worst instincts are not his own. My deepest condolences for your loss.
This was so interesting to me because he's so fucking proper and misogynistic that he's just like, I got 4 daughters and they got 2 daughters. I can't leave my fortune with none of these women's. Like, I need Henry. I need a man to leave this fortune to. So can you get this man together so I can have somebody to give all my shit to?
Insanity. Like, he literally is like naturally. And then the girls, I don't know if they know, but the girls are just like, yes, daddy. Like, they don't give a fuck. They're like, it is what it is. At least I'm in the family. So there's just a lot of like foolishness in this situation. Yeah, I mean, I think it is like really bullshit to ask like his ex to basically be like, oh, hey, are you gonna come? And it's like she does not have to do that at all. But yeah, I mean, he's literally like guilting her. That's literally it. He's like, he's blackmailing her is the word I'm looking for. Like, he's like, if you help Henry to get his shit together, then I won't post that like your daddy died in a crazy way or like that he was sexually assaulting people before he died.
We cut to Pierpoint. Enraj makes an announcement that Pierpoint stock has rallied 10 points due to the new CEO announcement. He then says the new CEO is Tom Wasley, an ex-Bain managing partner, head of their private equity sector. Rishi comes up to Eric and was like, people are trying to move these Pierpoint securities for peanuts. What the fuck's up with that shit? And Rishi's like, Eric tries to bullshit him. He's like, you are a fucking partner. You don't know shit. I don't buy it. Tell me what the fuck is going on. Like, shoot straight with me. He tries to feed him some bullshit about bonds. And he's like, dog, tell me the fucking truth. Like, what the fuck's going on? He's like, don't talk to me like I'm investor relations. And he's like, since when did you give a shit about maximizing shareholder value? Eric's like, I'm a fucking partner now. The fuck? I gotta care about different shit. Which is true, but also he's lying about this shit. And he's like, look, I don't give a fuck about any of that shit. You promised me my comp. When we screwed Harper, you said my comp was guaranteed. So I need to know that my shit is good.
When we double crossed screwed Harper, yep.
And he's like, I need the money. And he paused. And then he said, I got a family now.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, and then he goes casually, oh yeah, you still owe me $15,000 for the horses. And I'm like, that's a good point. That's a good point. I mean, and again, that's what I mean. That's how crazy the show is. Like the Ponzi scheme he was running on horses, yesterday's news.
And Rishi's like, yeah, that's chump change compared to the money I can make you doing my fucking job. So tell me what the fuck's going on.
Which, by the way, the deflection of a century, that is hilarious.
Yes. And he says something about Chucky the Wop, which I did not understand.
So there's somebody in another group the group that bought the bonds that are maturing that they need to pay back is the head of that group got fired. And it's basically like, oh, he did something wrong by like doing that, although it's a holistic issue that they're dealing with. But I think that's what they meant. So there's a guy named Chuck and Chucky the Wop, I think very sure that's a slur. And so basically they're saying like he got I think WAP is like either a Latino or a Italian slur. But yeah, so basically just saying like this guy over in debt markets it is a Italian. It's an Italian slur. Got it. Great. Cool.
And Eric texts that to Adler. And then Sweet Pea gets a call and she has an interview. And she asks Enraj to cover for her.
Can you cover me? Yeah, that's crazy. I did not think she was going for an interview.
And Enraj says, you taking calls from headhunters? And Sweet Pea's like, between you and me, you probably should take them calls, buddy.
Too. Yeah, you need to get it together.
And so Eric comes up to Yasmin and says, you look like you're under heavy weather, which I'd never heard that term before.
He's just making shit up.
And Yas says, yeah, I don't really want to be here. And Eric says, you know what? You know what used to help me on those days when I was an associate like you? She's like, what? And he's like, a big blue steak and a fistful of blood thinners. I was like, this dude is wilding. Like, what? Is he's popping blood thinners at work?
And what do blood thinners do? Like, what would be the
I don't know.
What would be the...
That's a good point. What?
I wonder what it does to you.
Blood thinners do for drug. No, what's for casual use? For casual use.
Illegal drug use. For drug abuse.
It doesn't really tell me what people are doing it for drug abuse. So I'm not sure why anybody would do blood thinners. That seems somebody listening will tell us. We're not blood thinner drug addicts, the two of us, so we don't know. I don't know. I can't speak for Chanel, but I'm not.
It can cause. Oh, what the fuck? What happened? Okay, sorry. I don't. All I see is risk of bleeding. Interesting.
So then we cut to a meeting with Sweet Pea and Harper, and this was so interesting. Harper is asking about Pierpoint's debt. She's asking all these specific questions, and Sweet Pea is like, "Why the fuck are you asking me this shit?" And I love Sweet Pea because she's not stupid. She's one of the smarter people we've seen on this show. She immediately picks up what Harper's doing. She's like, oh, she's trying to get me to say some shit. I'm not
Harper's
about to say
also
this
doing
shit.
a terrible job. She's doing a
Yes.
terrible job. Like she's not sprinkling questions in. She's going like, all right, so Pierpoint is about to lose all of its money because they invested too much in debt and ESG, correct? Like that's the question. And she's like, bitch, what?
Yes, but as she kept going, she kept becoming more and more direct.
Specific, yeah. It was just like you gotta ease off if you want her to do it. But at
one point she says Pierpoint has been focused on ESG companies, but you say they're overexposed. I'm like, Jesus Christ. And
I think at some point she didn't give a fuck. She was like, let me just, I already know what I think her intuition already kicked in. She was like, I don't need this girl to confirm anything.
Sweet Pea was like, you need to talk to asset management. Harper says, I'm just spitballing. If you want to work with me, we spitball.
Oh, now that's funny.
Harper said, what if I were to say to you, Pierpoint is the short of the century? And Sweet Pea was like, Sweet Pea was like, the fuck you want me to say about that? Like, what do you want me to say?
Like, that's where I'm at. I'm literally working there right now as we speak.
And Harper keeps going, and the Sweet Pea says, what the fuck do you want? A list? So she completely reads this whole shit.
She's like, do you have one?
And Sweet Pea's like, you know what? I think I just wasted your time. I'm good. I'm going to get up out of here. And Harper says, hey, dog, my meetings are off the record. Your boss ain't a big fan of me. You may not want this to get out. And did you notice how the door was locked? Like when Eric used to lock people in the doors? But this had a button?
The door was locked. Yeah, it was locked like fucking Matt Lauer used to lock his thing, but the button was under his desk. I wonder if that's a security thing or like a mind game thing.
Both. This is when I noticed that big ass fucking oversized jacket she had on. She had a jacket on that would fit me. This is when I first noticed.
I mean, but I'm trying to say that's a style now.
Harper is like 5'1", 105 pounds.
I'm just telling you that's a style now.
I'm 6'2", 270, and that jacket could fit me. That's how big her jacket was.
Fair enough. It's a style, guys. You'll see it on TikTok if you look.
And then for some levity in this show, we got a scene that made me smile so much with Anraj and Sweet Pea. These two were so cute together in this fucking lunch break, this coffee room, and I wanted to play this scene.
My favorite part is Robert.
People do not have their ear to the ground in here. There's a picture building. I mean, fucking look at them all. They're like crossing the Ioi Bridge to do their big shop on the morning of Hiroshima.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Sorry.
That's
What? Sorry,
I'm just like, what the fuck?
Sorry, my dad's a bit of a World War II anchor. I mean, there's no one here knows what the fuck is about to happen.
Pierpoint stocks rally.
I am telling you, there's a sentiment growing out there that is not reflected in the share prices yet.
What are you talking about?
Leviathan Alpha, like, turbocharged, roided up.
Wait, can you pause? Sorry, we forgot to mention that, like, Adler before had told Eric that, like, their CEO was stepping down. They had a new CEO. So, like, right now, the news is that they have this new X-Bane CEO, like, X-Management Consulting coming in. So, like, actually, the stock price is rallying. And so everyone is like, no one, unless you're really astute, you're not understanding that there's some other shit going on because the stock price is actually up.
Bears on Pierpoint.
Damn.
Yeah.
Did they offer you a job?
Mm-mm. They just wanted me to be their smoking gun.
Damn. Well, you need to tell Eric this can't get out.
I cannot tell Eric that I took a fucking interview with Harper Stern.
But you need to tell someone.
And conveniently, Uncle Rob walks in.
I think Pierpoint might be absolutely fucked.
Yeah. What else is new? Who's asked?
He's so fucked up. I think he's still high on ayahuasca. He went back for seconds or some shit because he was fucked up. He looked high as shit.
But he's also funny as fuck to be like, what do you mean? Duh, this is shitty. I mean, because, like, again, remember how we, like, he just got reamed in front of the fucking parliament? Like, he's processing shit too.
He don't care. about what happens with Pierpoint after they put him out.
He's like, no, you're right. Like, it is fucked up. He's like, whatever reason you're saying, it doesn't change the fact that it's like any reason you say is going to be correct, basically.
So then we see Harper and Petra and they're meeting with all these different banks, and they're talking about they need to get into this ESG debt. They believe they don't care for them, but they're cheap. It's all about the money. And there's one guy there who's like, why the fuck are you here? Like, this don't sound right. And then there's another guy who's like, no, they're smart. Tell them what they want to hear. Give them the list, buddy. Give them the list.
Yeah, it's literally like greed is helping. The women are taking advantage of like the greed and the lack of attention to detail. Because like we said before, like if they were smart, they'd be like, okay, we're giving away information about what are bad stocks, basically, or bad investments. And every meeting, there's somebody who's like, are you sure? And the other person's like, money, throw it at him, money.
No, it's worse than that. What they have is every meeting is between the salesperson and the asset management person. The asset management person is thinking through this through their lens. And Petra, it appears, her thing is to find the dumbest, most gullible, easy to manipulate salesperson at all the banks that they work with. It's what I took from that. And so every meeting she goes into, there's one dummy and there's one like asset management person like, this don't sound right. And the salesperson's like, make the sale, dummy. Like, what are you talking about? Exactly. And the whole time Petra's playing these dummies. And so they're after they met with a bunch of banks, they said, okay, JP Morgan was the clear winner. They had 22 of them. And Petra says, we still need to check with Pierpoint. I already made a meeting. And Harper's like, hold up. I thought I told you. Who'd you make a meeting with? I thought I told you not to do Yasmin. Go ahead.
She's just really trying to keep Yasmin out of it because she actually does, I think, give a fuck about Yasmin. And she's like, I really hope that that we can like leave her out of it. Yeah. I mean, yeah, but I think to enough extent, like to the extent that in this business, she genuinely is trying. I do.
Well, no, here's what happened. Here's where it all changed. And Harper says, you're exploiting a personal relationship. And Petra's like, huh? You're the one who told me about Yasmin. I asked you who's the dumbest salesperson at Pierpoint, and you said Yasmin. Pick Yasmin. You told me this. You told me to go to her because she was stupid. Yeah. Now you mad because I'm going to the dummy? Like, this don't make no fucking sense. And then Harper tries to pull her trump card out. She's like, oh, I got a little joker. I'm about to pull out this little joker right now. Why you ain't tell me about your substance abuse issue? And Petra's like, huh? What, like,
yeah, correct.
What are you talking about?
She did not have any at all enough info on that to be talking like that.
And this is when Harper realized that Petra had a big joker, and she thought her partner had the big joker, but she didn't. And so she lost his hand. And this was an all-time bad play. And Petra was like, yeah, I was dropping my son off. That's where I met James Ashford at the fucking substance abuse place, because I was dropping my son off there. And Harper's like, oh, I truly apologize. I'm sorry. And I was like, Harper, you're not sorry because you offended her. Harper was sorry because she knew that this flipped the power dynamic and that she had to do a make good, and that was a bad business play.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, she definitely overstepped it.
Then she tried to switch it. She tried to go into what's the woman that used to work with Petra? What was her name? Boadicia's mama?
Anna.
Anna. She tries to go to Anna. She tries to pull her. Anna was like, if we were only more vulnerable with each other, then we wouldn't have these issues. And Petra's like, hold up.
Hilarious.
I don't ask you who you fuck or what pills you take to go to sleep. We are here to make money. Yasmin is a former colleague of yours. I am your current partner. Are you more worried about the past or the future and the money that we about to make together? You pick a priority and then we move forward. And at that point, Harper had to make this is where I talked about at the beginning. Harper had to make a choice. The show is trying to make you think that she had no choice, but she had a choice. She could have been like, look, she just lost her dad. I don't want to do this with her. Let's cancel the meeting and get someone else from Pierpoint. Like, I don't want to do this. She could have put her foot down for this, but she didn't. She didn't. And so that's where we are. So then we go
No,
Then
you're
we
right.
go to
She could have definitely like she's been trying to dip and dab around and like she mentioned the personal stuff, but she didn't really set up a boundary. That's a fact.
So then we go to lunch with Eric and Yaz. This scene was insanity. And Eric's acting mad weird, downing martinis. He talks about I'm gonna lose my kids. So I'm gonna lose my kids. He hired this lawyer that always gets money, and I got a feminist judge. And Yaz asked, is Pierpoint in trouble? She heard some shit from Sweet Pea. And Eric's like, that blonde bimbo don't know what the hell she's talking about. Like, forget about that. Why? And then he's like, I was like, why is he looking at her like that? And Yasmin asks, what kind of father is he? And Eric says, much worse than my own. I thought this was a little bit story. He talked about his dad worked on an assembly line for years making widgets. And he did it for 50 years. And he told him basically like, he said something about how you can piss off a man by making them count or something like that. And Yaz says, this was weird. I think it's a child's biological duty to kill their parents. Yeah. I was like, what?
Like, what are you doing? Like, she was pulled immediately under interrogation.
Immediately.
Like, she would so be Brandon Dassey. Like, she would get false confession, never out of jail because her dumb ass just said the wrong thing at the wrong time.
And then this is where this scene gets weird. And I have this.
Do you think I give you preferential treatment on the desk? Because I'm trying to reflect on the different ways I treat the women in my life.
With all due respect, Eric, I don't see myself as a woman in your life.
Exactly.
You're not a man in mine.
Right. We work together.
Yeah.
I heard your relationship with Henry was raised by the select committee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Has that been going on since COP?
To be fair, I don't think that was an inappropriate question, given that you fucked that dude on a business trip right in front of them.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
I don't think that's an inappropriate question.
There wasn't even there was no walls. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that was an inappropriate question.
Sorry. Hi.
This is a call from her lawyer friend, the one that was fucking Eric.
A terrible lawyer friend. Yep.
You okay?
Yeah. How are you? I just wanted to check you're all right.
I'm fine. Why? What's going on?
Oh, God, sorry. Have you not seen? There are leaked autopsy photos of Charles's body all over Reddit.
This is how you know this is a Gen Z show. Talking about fucking Reddit.
Oh, I haven't seen. Is there anything else? Anything in the press? Like an interview with anyone from the boat? Anyone called Alondra?
No, just these horrific photos. Are you okay? You with someone?
Yeah. I'm having lunch with Eric.
Oh my God. Stay away from that fucking vampire.
Jesus. Vampire.
By the way, you met him through her. Like, what is wrong with her? How could she stay away? That's her boss that you chose to fuck.
Exactly.
Okay, speak soon.
The only useful thing I remember my shrink ever saying to me was desire is practical, pragmatic. It takes what it can get. I've thought about that a lot since. And maybe unexpected.
This dude is just saying nonsense. Like, what is he saying?
I want it so bad to be like, no, he's not saying that. Like, he's not saying that. Don't worry. He wouldn't be weird like that. And he was saying that.
As it is?
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there. I'm going to pay for my own food. And I don't want you to say whatever it is you're thinking of saying.
You've misunderstood.
Nope, I don't think that I
Then he tried to mansplain her.
have.
No, I was just saying, or
Whenever a man says that, he's absolutely mansplaining. Unless it's like a professor teaching. In other scenario, if a woman's like, yeah, don't say what you're about to say because it's fucked up. And then the man says, no. What I was actually trying to say is never better. It's never better.
Fair.
Trying to say, I don't know. The story of our lives becomes the story of the detours.
What is he talking about? He's got to be fucked up.
No, he is. I mean, that's what Rishi started with. Is like, are you so drunk?
Our desire takes us on.
What the fuck are you doing? Why are you doing this?
Right.
Why are you doing this to me? Why? What do you want? What do you actually want me to do right now? You want me to give you a nice little hand job in the toilet? I mean, what is it that you actually...
See, in the toilet, you see? I like that. I like that term. It's better than bathroom.
I know you do.
Because if I say I'll give you a hand job in the bathroom, something sounds dirty about that. But I'll give you a hand job in the toilet.
I feel the opposite.
In
that
the
is
toilet.
So funny. You're so ridiculous.
That sounds unique.
What do you want from me? What am I? What is this? Is this sex? It's just sex for you? This is just sex for you? Making me sit here like this, listening to you talk like this. It's not sex. It's not sex, okay? So you can do that. You can do that on your own time.
By the way, she's loud as shit saying this. The whole restaurant is just looking at it. It's not like she's loud as fuck. Everybody stopped and looking at her.
She's
saying
definitely
this.
Going off.
I thought that she was ultimately right, but I thought it was weird because to me, and maybe this is me being a man, so this is where I want your opinion. It sounded like he was just saying nonsense. Like I couldn't understand what he was. It just sounded like he was saying nonsense. It didn't sound like he was coming on to her in a way that I would understand, but I thought it might be different from a woman. It just sounded like he was saying nonsense to me. And I was like, why is he saying this nonsense?
Yeah, I did. So like the very next scene is what lost it for him because I was basically like, I think she might have jumped the gun a little bit because like what happened with her dad, like she clearly is emotional and like anytime a man says something to her, she's gonna like desire or want or whatever, she's just like icked out. So I was like, okay, that she might be overreacting, but then he immediately goes to jerk off in the toilet. So I'm like, okay, he was trying to, okay, well, she won this one, right? So I think that is what was very like disappointing about this, but in general, I don't know. Again, without that next scene, I would have just thought, oh, he's just like you said, just saying crazy shit, and like he could be saying desire in any kind of way, like any kind of format, and we wouldn't understand it. But yeah, I think he was saying like something freaky.
Yeah, so Chanel mentions that he goes in the bathroom and he starts jacking off, but like aggressively jacking off. It wasn't like, oh man, she just got me excited. I just gotta get this out. It's like he was like stroking hard as shit, like his shit, like he didn't put no fucking lube on. That shit had to be
frustrated. He was definitely
that wasn't
frustrated.
good. And then, of course, because it's industry, they had to show us to come on his hands.
Yeah, and then on the wall too. And I was just like,
only this show would do that.
A lot of spunk on this damn show.
I think there was a facial cum shot on Game of Thrones one season.
There was that time
when
that
they were in the brothel.
There's a time that Daniel came in Issa's eye on Insecure.
Yeah, but that was like comedy to me.
Oh, okay.
The way they shot it. Well, yeah, I guess so. But yeah, so like we've seen it on HBO before. But I knew they were going to show it on this show. I knew it was no doubt in my mind that we were going to see that in this scenario. Absolutely, every fucking season.
Yeah, and I mean, we've come to recognize it for what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with it. It's fine. So let me cut back to Pierpoint. It doesn't bother me at all. But I'm actually. For adult shows, people aren't scared to show what adult people do for once.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this. If you're trying to tell someone how great this show is, and then they come in at the wrong part, they will be like, why would you introduce me to this? Like, what's up
If
with you?
I
And
told
it's like,
somebody, hey man, this show is great, watch this week. And then it was the episode where Yasmin makes Rob eat his own cum off a mirror. I'm pretty sure a lot of people would be like,
they would,
oh,
yep.
okay.
Yeah.
What do you have
you
me
literally
watch?
like if it was me, I would guide somebody through it and I would like skip the sex scenes. I'd be like, okay, they're about to have sex, skip. Because I'm just like, you actually don't need to see how crazy this gets. I need you to just stick with me on the plot. But anyway, yeah, like again, we this show has earned its funk shots on as far as this podcast is concerned. But I will say that like there was a time, I'm actually gonna get graphic for a second. There was a time growing up, I felt like there was a movement to talk about like fellatio and women reclaiming it, and like women writing books about like how great they were at it and all those things. And I feel like now we're coming back to a more demure period where I think it's okay to be like ill when you see sperm, and that doesn't mean men should be grossed out by their own bodies or anything like that. I'm just saying ill. I don't want to see spunk, but I understand the very human purposes, I feel like, of showing it is like not the shame, because I don't want to call it shame, but like the after effects of like masturbating in a public space is being like, what did I just do? So anyway, the show's always
it takes like the toilet paper off to wipe it off and shit.
It's not gonna do it. It really needs. It's not gonna do it. You might as well take that sock
you
off
in the fucking toilet. Go to the
go
to
get
the
some
sink.
down. Go get yeah. I mean, logistically, yes, but I think it's just like the masturbation is a great equalizer because everybody has that clarity moment afterwards when you're like, I am a VP of an important hedge fund and I just came in the bathroom thinking about this girl who does not think about me.
And so then they cut back to Pier Point, and him or Yaz just sitting there in silence. I was like, this is awkward as fuck. And then Yasmin just says, I got a meeting with the Leviathan Alpha in 5 minutes. Like, you want to show up? And this is where Eric fucked up. Because he knows, despite all of that,
Harper,
he also knows
Harper
that he knows Harper, but he also knows that Yaz is not great at her job. Like, he knows that. It's been discussed before. And he just kind of ignores her and gets on a call. And then they cut to the meeting, and Petra's talking about buying a dip on these ESGs. And the guy for asset management was like, I gotta be honest. Why the fuck do you care about these companies? Like, this is not y'all MO. This is silly. Y'all don't even know what these companies are talking about. One of the companies makes credit cards out of wood chips. like it's just random shit. And Harper's face here is so funny because he's saying that, and she knows that Yasmin's just about to be like, no, tell him about everything. She knows she's about to do that shit. And she seems a little conflicted. And then the guy says, y'all are too smart for this. And then Yasmin says, no, they're smart enough to know how to diversify their fucking portfolio. Show them the list. And so they show her the list. And then Yasmin says,
wait.
Oh, go ahead. Yasmin says,
I was going to say the other reason why she's dumb is because Sweet Pea warned her. I forgot about that. I just remember that in the moment. Like, she shouldn't be so caught off guard by this. Sweet Pea literally just warned her dumbass. So I forgot about that.
She says, it's double-sided for the environment. And they show Petra's face.
No, that's where yeah.
And Petra's face is like, this fucking moron. Like, this fucking idiot. Like, she's such a dummy. Is what was on Petra's face. But that just tells what in reality,
definitely set up.
In reality, it being double-sided told them that they had the most. Just, you got to put them on both sides of the paper. That many of them,
they went way past 20. They went way past JP Morgan's 22 for sure.
So then we get to the last meeting, and we cut and we see fucking Kenny, who got fired earlier this season from Eric. He's already got a new job with Daria.
That was my moment.
And Kenny says, misery acquaints a man with strange bedfellows. And she says, they tell Harper and Petra, we can't short this. And Petra says, we don't want you to short that. We're trying to short Pier Point. We are bringing this to their biggest competitor. Harper says they took a gamble and took on a lot of debt, and it can't be refinanced. And they all look skeptical. Daria says, how did they allow themselves to get into this hole? Something as silly as ESG. She says banal, banal, or whatever she said. Kenny said, "Why are you bringing this to us? Like, why are you bringing this to us?" And she said, "Shorting this size will be public knowledge. We want you to do this discreetly so that we can get protections from other banks." She says, "How much are we talking about, Daria?" She said, Petra said $500 million. And Kenny's like, "That's half your fund in one position. That must mean," and Harper cuts in and says, "confident." And Kenny says, "This trade could cause panic at Pierpoint." And Harper says, "Don't they deserve it?" And then Daria said, "We're all brought together by negative cohesion." And Harper's like, "Whatever will get you up in the morning."
Yeah. By the way, I think you also missed Jackie. Jackie was also the other.
Oh yeah,
girl
that was
who's on the
Jackie.
team.
Yeah,
Yeah, the one who went to Berlin with them and was like, "Hey guys, are we gonna bond as women?" They're like, "Fuck you," because Harper had her brother shit going on. So anyway, it's like, it literally is. I think they're at Goldman or something in this scenario based on what the code words were before. But yes, like, literally everybody who got fucked by Pierpoint at some point besides Harper basically is at this damn at this like on the other side of the table, and it honestly is the ultimate get back in that sense.
So then after this meeting, Eric asked how Leviathan Alpha meeting went with Yasmin. She's like, "Oh, it went great. They just wanted this and that, and I made them an asset management connection." And Eric's like, "Hold on, why was asset management there?" And Eric knows something's up. And she's like, "Oh, because they wanted to know about this ESG stocks that we had. They're buyers." And Eric's like, "You dummy, that don't make no fucking sense. Like, what did you tell them about our exposure?" And Yas was like, "I don't know, I just gave them a list." And Eric loses her shit and it's like, "What the fuck, you fucking idiot," and leaves the fucking storms out. And then
she's just like, "I don't know what I did."
We finally get what we've all been waiting for all season: the Eric and Harper showdown. Because Eric storms to their fucking office, bangs on the door. The receptionist comes. He don't even say. She's like, "Get the fuck out of my way," and barges into the office. And then we get this scene. By the way, the music is so intense. They've made this music so intense.
Have you got an appointment? You can't go in there.
Okay, you got Daddy's attention now.
Can I help you?
Is this why you do the things you do?
Sorry? You're stood in my office, emotionally incontinent, and you're saying I need your attention?
You listen to me, you little fucking cunt.
Whoa! Maybe you need a glass of water.
I don't know what your angle is, but it's somewhere in the area of causing the most harm to as many people as you physically can. Everyone's collateral, right? Even the only girl stupid enough to call you a friend.
I love the last 3 scenes of this episode because everyone is telling the truth to the other person while being completely oblivious about the truth of themselves. So everything that everyone says to Eric, everything Eric says to Harper, everything Harper says to Eric, everything Yaz says to Harper, and everything Harper says to Yaz is 100% true. Yet they're all oblivious to the other person's viewpoint of themselves.
Exactly.
Do you ever listen to the Pat?
By the way, let me rewind that because this is so funny. Harper is like trolling him when he comes in. She's talking in like this really high-pitched voice. She's trolling him, la 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 la, like just egging him on. And then Eric brings up Yaz, and that sets her off because she does feel guilty about what she just did to Yaz.
But also he calls her a cunt and she goes, "You need water?"
Yeah. She was trolling, but when he brings up Yaz, watch how her tone changes.
Where in the area of causing the most harm to as many people as you physically can. Everyone.
Oh, hold on, let me go back a little bit.
That's why you do the things you do?
Sorry? You're stood in my office, emotionally incontinent, and you're saying I need your attention?
You listen to me, you little fucking cunt.
Whoa! Maybe you need a glass of water.
She's just trolling.
I don't know what your angle is, but it's somewhere in the area of causing the most harm to as many people as you physically can. Everyone's collateral, right? Even the only girl stupid enough to call you a friend.
They even go to a silence, and then it's just like a switch happens.
Do you ever listen to the pat shit that comes out of your fucking mouth? Everything you do on the floor communicates an ideology that people are a means to an end. I enact your philosophy, and you have the nerve to come into my office and call me a bad person? Go fuck yourself.
You know, I'm guessing you live with the feeling that you're a monster. And now there's nothing stopping you on your path to whatever behavior provides you with an externalized fantasy of what you really think of yourself every moment of every day. I want you to know from the bottom of my heart that what you think about yourself is true.
This is some incredible writing right here.
I heard your family fell apart. Shame. But maybe now you can finally go after whatever it is that you really want.
Is he drunk? Jesus Christ. And that is why we keep it professional.
What'd you think about that scene, Chanel?
I mean, I love when they go head to head because like we just see the wildest like the wildest interactions when because they are forced two people who hate each other but also still like somewhat kind of respect each other, like having to go head to head, and like we said, like they always go for the jugular whenever they do that, and I just think that is like so intriguing. Like there's very few times when you see like there's very actually few times I can think of on TV when you see just characters just go at each other. It's like it's on site, like truly, literally on site. So I think that's like very, and like hearing the music back at this point without looking at it is just there's it's just so angsty. Like this show just really delivers and carries everything. So I love when they, you know, again, I could see, I could happily see a world where they are back together. I hate to say this, but I could see it. I don't think it's gonna happen, but I could see it. And so like whenever they interact, I'm like, yeah, I like that.
So Eric goes back to the office. He gets on the mic and he asks if anybody in New York
This is my favorite part.
Has any insight on Pierpoint's share price.
It's ticking down. It's like slowly ticking down when he gets back in the office in the middle of the night, which, as we know, means that it would be happening in the US because they're 6 hours behind. So, or this, like, 6 hours. So, like, if it's like 11 p.m., it's like at the end of the day for the market in the US. And so he's like, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah, it's ticking down. And the guy in New York's like, oh, it's ticking down. Something to keep an eye on. He got an email from Adler.
That wasn't a guy in New York.
What?
I think that was DVD.
That was not DVD. DVD was fired.
Definitely DVD. DVD was fired from LA, from London.
I gotta check. What? Look at the credits and find out.
I was definitely thinking about that. I didn't want to spoil it for myself because I was like, this isn't Amazon. But okay, let's see if he's on there. That was definitely DVD. I don't know. It just made me happy because I'm like, I love an idea. I'm looking it up. I love the idea that we get him back, and like, because things are pushing back towards.
If we ain't getting Gus back, we ain't getting DVD back.
I wonder if we should. I mean, okay, let's see. DVD versus David Van Deventer. Okay, maybe I'm wrong.
So then he gets an email from Adler. And the email from Adler is basically telling him that it's like the Reddit post, and it has the pictures of Yasmin's daddy. And Eric gets on the call, and it's basically Adler saying, hey, dog, I told you to fire this girl. Like, this press is not good. We don't need this right now. Eric gets on the call, and he's like, hey, Yaz, how about you not come in to work tomorrow? She's like, okay, I'll take the day.
By the way, like the timing of this after the sex, the like reverse Harry Met Sally in the cafe is crazy.
And he goes, did I get you the bad time? She's like, no. She's like, don't come in tomorrow. He's like, okay. He's like, actually, it's more of an indefinite thing. You know, the decision the company thinks that all your personal stuff is affecting your focus at work, and you let some proprietary information get into the hands of bad actors. And he's like, actually, let me correct myself. Your friend fucked you. And then,
mind you, and they live together. I don't know if he knows that, but they live together.
Yes. Well, I wonder if he knows that. And then he says, Harper, oh, sorry. I scrolled up my notes. Sorry about that. And then she says, HR will be in touch. The paparazzi starts taking pictures of her. She smashes the fucking camera.
He goes, and I hope it's understood how much I enjoyed working with you. He says that he mixes in the script with him talking shit. It is so like this. You can play any scene from this show, and the dialogue is just crazy because he goes like, "Oh, I hope it goes without saying that I enjoyed working with you, but also like your friend fucked you over, and also don't come back to work because like you're damaged goods." It was a firing.
It was a firing. And then we get one of the scenes of the season with Yaz and Harper back at the flat. Can you hear that?
Hey.
Yeah.
You okay? You know, my first instinct when I got back into my cabin was to brush my hair. Your first instinct was to protect me. Why?
Why? What do you mean, why?
Why did you help me?
Because it was a human thing to do.
You didn't do anything wrong.
You didn't do anything, yes.
No, you're right. I did nothing.
You didn't commit a crime, yes. Okay, you're not responsible. He was headed where he was headed, and that's it.
You know, I have defended you to people. Rob, Eric, I find myself constantly defending you because that girl on the boat, whoever that girl was, she loved me.
I do love you.
Fuck you.
Uh-oh. I wish I had the meme, but this is when I thought of K. Michelle screaming she's shaking the table.
Oh.
That's where this came in.
Fuck you. My pain is useful to you. Even today.
This is about to be some incredible writing, by the way. Like, the words here are fucking slicing them. Like, slicing the fuck out of them with the smallest knife possible. Like, it looked like it hurt.
All the fucking days, my pain was useful to you. And the more I sit with it, the more I realize, of course, that little voice in my head was right. You revel in my disgrace. You revel in other people's pain. It fucking nourishes you.
Okay, yes. I did everything in my power to try and stop.
At this point, if you were watching it, she like changes her entire posture. Her posture was kind of like listening to her originally, like thinking something's wrong for her, like when somebody's checking on you. And at this point, she sits up, she crosses her legs.
Well, she just came at her completely. She just said, bitch, you're rotten to your core.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's in defense mode. She's like, okay, well, now we're about to fight. All right, then.
Petra. I did. But this is the business. Sorry, the world is showing you what it is. Without any of the protections that you are so clearly used to. And I am genuinely sorry that you think I am so sick that I could somehow get off on your unhappiness now.
Oh, so you don't? You didn't? Today? I needed my friend! Today! Harper, I needed my friend and you used me!
You don't want friends! You do not want friends! You want people
to make the hierarchy of your world make fucking sense to you.
Do you have any capacity to see beyond the projection of your own insecurities? Because the most appalling things that you think about yourself are not how I see you.
How do you see me then? Hmm? Does it appall you that I have somehow managed to make it on my own?
Oh my God. You're mental. You are hardwired to exploit people's vulnerabilities and all the fucking mental gymnastics of whatever, I don't know, genetic blame game or how you were brought up or, oh my God, my brother, he's an addict, shit that you spin does not absolve you of how you choose to act now.
I love these two scenes. Harper is 100% right. Yaz, I think Yaz does want friends, but what she wants in a friend is someone who will basically like cater to her in a way. Like if someone whose identity as a friend is to make sure that they are caring about her feelings and there for her feelings at all times. And Yasmin's also right.
But also not like wounding her, like doing that without making her feel guilty for wanting to be the center of attention.
Yes, exactly. And Yasmin is right about Harper, that Harper knows who she is, but she pretends to, or tries to convince herself that she's not that person. But when in reality, whenever given the chance to prove that she's actually not this person, she will always prove that she's that person. She will always go back and to do those things.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I deserve better than this. I do. Everyone deserves better than the way that you treat them. The way you use and fucking take is disgusting. It's disgusting. The way you treat Rob, and he still chooses you. He still chooses you every fucking time.
You think that if I wasn't around, Rob would want to be with you? He thinks you're deranged.
Yeah.
Being a narcissist with an inferiority complex doesn't make you an underdog, Harper. It makes you completely fucking nauseating.
When did Rob come into this? When did Rob become the center of both of these two?
I don't think it's the center. I think he's just always like, remember the threesome thing from last year?
Oh yeah.
I think he was always like somebody who she hooked up with, and always somebody who, so he was always somebody that like Harper was actually connected to and close to and hooked up with. And then he was always, even though he got over it at some point, he was always like tripping off of her. And then they had that experience where they had that experience with like the threesome thing happened. And so anyway, I think it's always going to be a thing with them probably.
And trust me, I know narcissists. My dad used to pity himself too.
Right. And I'm sure you fed into that self-pity. The same way that you feed into what he and every other man like him wants you to be. A fucking sex object and a victim, which you conveniently bounce between whenever it suits you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I used to think that the worst thing that you could think about me and the worst thing that I could think about you might still be true. And we might be able to love each other in spite of it, but I am certain that that is not the case.
Like father, like daughter, right?
This is the show telling you this one they're not coming back from. Like we've seen it before where like they were having a falling out that was not fixable, but it was fixed. But this one ain't gonna be fixed.
Is that right?
Your arrogance is just you overcompensating for the fact that you could not be any more fucking ordinary. And guess what? The world can only hide that shit from you for so long, yes? You are talentless and useless.
Whew.
And a
Damn.
fucking whore.
Listen to this music.
Sorry, that's so funny.
Why are they playing this music when they're slapping the shit out of each other? Like, that is insane. So Chanel, what you think about that scene?
I mean, they're definitely trolling us in some instances too, because like you said, the music is so funny. I mean, it always takes me a minute to like process these fights because I feel like they go places that like I've never gone in my friendship. So like the fact that they came back from that before, I did actually think like they would be better off because of the fact that they like had that conversation. Clearly not. But I felt like it was, I think like you said before, it was exactly it. They read each other for filth. So they had each other's number basically, and they were like very direct about what the issues were with each other. And they also had their own blind spots where like whatever is said about them, even if they know it's right, it's like doesn't really matter to them in that moment. And I actually think I would watch that scene again just to like really sink in. Like this is coming from really knowing someone and really letting it rip. Like really letting it rip all, like the deepest things. And then I think the fact that she said talentless, the way that we heard that her father said it was like the real kicker for me.
Yeah, that's what set her off. She said exactly what her daddy said that day. You're spectacularly talentless and a whore.
So that has to get in your head at that point.
So then they cut to Nikki Beach, and we see the rest of the scene after the girl took a picture of her. The lady who was fucking her dad came up and apologized. She said it's okay. She said, is he coming up from his nap? And she says, I think his nap has turned into a bit of a sleep. A bit of a sleep. And then she says, I can't believe that prick almost made us miss a reservation at Nikki Beach. And then that's how the episode ends.
I mean, she really didn't give a fuck about her daddy dying, by the way.
No. Well, she was crying, but I think it was...
I mean, I think she was I think it was a little bit of guilt more so than, or like fear more so than like actually. I mean, and mind you, like, you know, sometimes people have reactions at different times. So I'm not even saying that like, okay, if she didn't cry right then and there, she's not sad. But like, I don't know. I don't have a relationship with anyone, thank God, the way that Yasmin does. But also, I've never told anyone I wanted them to die. And so the only people I like, there are people in this world I want to die, but they deserve to die. So if they did turn around and die, like they do. So I will say this: if she feels that way about him, then good riddance. If she felt like he doesn't deserve to be saved, and I know no one should do this in real life, I'm just saying if that's what she felt about her dad, and she thinks the world is better without him, and he's dumb enough to jump out on a boat without a life jacket.
So the last thing before we go is the show is really trying to make us think that they're going to end Pierpoint, right? And I think this show is bold enough to try to end Pierpoint, but I also don't know how this show would work without Pierpoint. Like without Pierpoint as the central, like physical set, but also like the central combining like factor that blends all these people's lives together. Because if this short were to work the way they're describing it, it should bankrupt Pierpoint, right? They should go fucking upside down. They should go the way of Goldman Sachs and whatever the fuck back Enron and shit.
Lehman and them, yep.
So I don't know. I'm interested to see where they take this, but I saw someone on Twitter say every episode of Inudstry feels like the penultimate episode of a season. And so it really does feel like that, but we're actually coming up to next week is the penultimate episode. So I expect some real wild shit to happen there. And so we'll see.
If they gave us a boring episode, there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'm just glad we're out of Harper's brother doing meth and listening to The Weeknd. I'm just glad. Like, I feel like this show has done those different things, and I feel like everywhere we go from here, I'm locked and loaded, ready to go. Like there's no storyline I'm not interested in. There's no like particular character I think is like not doing his job or not like making me intrigued. Like I'm really into this whole thing. I do not see the world without Pierpoint, but I also think like this show, I welcome them to try. I fully welcome them to try to build it out. Like, why the fuck not? You know what I mean? Like, why not take us to a whole? Because we expanded the universe this season by giving us like deeper, richer like perspectives, and like we got Yasmin's perspective, Robert's perspective, Eric at some point, Rishi. Like, why not give us a whole new world? Although I do agree that like without Pierpoint, I don't know what the show is. I'm just saying like, and I guess like Inudstry is like Pierpoint, so. But I'm just saying, like, to the writers, to the creators, like, go for it, because I think we've already gone through all this crazy shit already. Like, whatever they see fit, I'm down to try. And I think that is what's really cool about TV these days. It's like the fact that, like we said in the beginning, they could give us so much. Like they're giving us multiple films worth of content in like this season. So who's to say where we're gonna go with it? Like nobody saw Rishi crashing out like that, and it was one of the best episodes of TV. So let's do it.
I gotta try to keep these episodes under 90 minutes, just for y'all don't have to listen to so long for us to talk. But we appreciate you going on this ride with us. Chanel and I will be back next week for episode 7, the penultimate episode of Inudstry season 3. And until then, if you enjoy listening to us, leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Subscribe to us on YouTube at youtube.com/@WeWasWatchingPod. I think it was just We Was Watching @WeWasWatching. Pod.
On what, YouTube?
Yeah.
We Was Watching Pod. Oh fuck.
Yeah.
YouTube.com/@ We Was Watching, and then
yes,
the Twitter is We Was Watching Podcast.
And if you got any theories about the rest of the season, send us an email at wewasdragonspod@gmail.com. Thank you all for listening. We'll talk to y'all next week. And Chanel,
buy the dip, short the VIX.